Notational analysis 6.1. Biomechanics is to do with the four internal and external forces acting on the body, plus the effects it has on it. Biomechanics is also to do with looking at how the law of mechanics and physics are applied to an athlete's performance. Biomechanics is said to contribute the description and explanation and prediction as to how the human body moves during exercise. Biomechanics is used to identify the optimal technique for enhancing sports performance. In addition, biomechanics is also used to assess muscular recruitment and loading. However, biomechanics can also be used to analyse sport and exercise equipment, for example, shoes, surfaces, rackets, balls, nets, gloves, and even clothing. On the other hand, biomechanics either enhance performance or reduce the injury risk in sport and exercise. Notational analysis is the study of movement patterns, strategy, and technique in team sports. Successful patterns of play can be identified and used in subsequent matches. It can be used to measure the team's performance over a certain period of time, or even to see how the opposition is doing. The data collected in notational analysis is gathered and analysed by information gained from observation of performance in a competitive situation. Hughes in 2004 stated that notational analysis is an objective way of recording performance so that key elements of that performance can be identified in a valid and consistent manner. Notational analysis has evolved over the years. For example, here are two different types of notational analysis. Sanderson in 1977 reported a system for squash, which unsuccessful patterns of play in squash, which was then developed by Sanderson in 1983, where he used symbols to represent shots on a diagram of a court. Sanderson then spent 5 to 8 hours learning the system. In addition, it then took another 40 to 50 hours in order to analyse the data in one match. To decrease the amount of hours taken to learn the system, computers were involved to minimise the learning time and process the data gathered. Computers are considered the dominant use for notational analysis to this day. Movement analysis is all about the quality of the movement, which is related to a particular task and is when an athlete performs a skill, for example, a free throw. Movements and for a free throw, and it is recorded or in order for the skill to be broken down, showing the specific joint movement and what is going slightly wrong. Movement analysis involves different aspects of a movement. For example, movement at the joint involved the plane of movement, which muscles are producing the movement, the function of muscles involved, contraction type, and even the range of the muscle action. Movement analysis can also be used to determine the distance covered by the play, which can be done precisely by GPS. Riley and Thomas in 1976 analysed the movement of the English First Division soccer players. Riley and Thomas specified different positions, work rates, and the distance covered in the game. The data collected then became a standard piece of data, to which other pieces of data were compared to. This soon became the normal behaviour. However, after a short period of time, the method to which everyone was now collecting data was too time consuming, which is why it is now computerized, because when the data was collected by computer systems, it saved time and was more accurate. Tactical analysis is about analysing tactical patterns in play, which can help to conclude the decision of which tactic works best. This analysis allows you to see how each tactic changes, which is called maturation or technical process. With this said, coaches use this information to vary out the tactics, improving the performance of the team. However, an advantage of tactical analysis is that coaches and managers are able to view opposition's tactics, meaning they are able to work out how they can beat them by using a tactical formation that beats theirs. Technical analysis is to do with analysing quantitatively on successful and unsuccessful techniques, which has a practical advantage for a coach or sports scientist to see what exactly is going wrong, and it's more specific. Technical analysis is shown as a percentage or as a frequency, which can help coaches and managers to identify which players would be good in certain positions or even for the squad in general. Because this analysis shows specific parts of a player's performance, for example, the number of interceptions, how many baskets, long passes, short passes, successful and unsuccessful. Performance criteria is a list of factors that are key for the sporting performance. However, not every sport has the same factors. For example, in football there might be saves, whereas a basketball may have shot accuracy on the list. Simple sports such as snooker may have a shorter list of factors, such as safety, success, whereas a more complex sport such as hockey might have a list with more complex factors such as tackle success. An example of a performance criteria list for basketball may look like this: shot accuracy, which can be split so that it is more specific, such as 3-pointers, each player individually, or even backboard shots. Another factor could be interception rates, where a diagram of the court is produced, similar to the one on the screen. And on the diagram will be notations of where the ball was lost and gained during the match to see whether there was more gained possession than lost during a game, and where it is being lost the most. In addition, passing can be considered as another factor. This could also be split into sections to become more specific, for example, whether they are short or long passes, backwards or forwards, or even who the passes are between, which could show if there is a pattern in the game with the way the team is playing, or even to see if the team continues to move down the court instead of going backwards, making the attack towards the opponents. Dribbling can also be considered as a criteria. It can be looked at as successful and unsuccessful dribbles. For example, a positive dribble would be considered as one that leads to a shot on target, or even gaining field advantage. Finally, another criteria could be considered as unforced errors, which is where errors occur from your own actions and isn't a direct consequence of what an opponent does. For example, if a basketball player tries to shoot when unmarked and misses. To collect the notational analysis method, 2 types of data collection were used: live visual noting of what skills were being used during that they were ticked off throughout the game, and a recorded visual noting for anything that was missed during the live data collection. Although these were used, there are multiple ways for collecting data. For example, when tracking a player's movement, an easier way to do this would be by GPS, because it is more reliable and can give more accurate readings. In addition, a recording of the game can also be useful for freeze framing in order to watch a technique more precisely and to note down certain skills that could be improved. Using a GPS in a game of basketball is a more accurate way for seeing whether or not the player is moving enough during the game to see if they are making the space for the passes. or getting back to defend enough. On this slide there are two photos to show the data that was collected and how. This is both a data collection form and a schematic graph of player A live. This picture on the right is the data collection form which I used to tick off performance criteria skills that I had seen during the basketball match I had observed. This is both the data collection form and the schematic graph of player B live. This is both the data collection form and the schematic graph of player A video. This is both a data collection form and a schematic graph of a player B video. Evaluation of notational analysis method of performance analysis. Some advantages of notational analysis can identify strengths and weaknesses, can help find players' most fitted position, can be used more precisely by technology, can show the effectiveness of training, can help with knowledge about opponents' strengths and weaknesses, can show how effective tactics are, can help to give individual players feedback. It can also decrease how much time it takes to gather data. A disadvantage of notational analysis is the fact that it is time consuming, relevance in different sports, quality not included, advanced knowledge gives more of a precise result, expensive, not all skills measurable, human errors, doesn't include context of situation. It also observes for team analysis, plus increases observers for team analysis. Reliability is questionable.